Thank you everyone for joining. Today we're going to present the StimuField Cap. We're here in this webinar live. And yes, we will be talking about how this PEMF cap can help you to get fuller, thicker looking hair. And we will talk a little bit more in depth about the technology using positive electromagnetic fields to support your hair growth. It's supposed to be a very easy cap, and you should just use it for 30 minutes a day. So today in the agenda, we will cover a little bit the introductions for who's going to be the host today, which will be Pablo and me. We'll have an overview of the cap. We'll cover also the PEM science. We'll discuss the causes of why our hair is thinning. Also, we'll see whether in which situations the cap might be good for you or not. And we will also discuss real results. And we'll, of course, have some time for questions. So we'll invite everyone at the end of the session to just drop your questions at the chat. So yeah, let's get started. Today, as hosts, will be co-hosting Pablo and me. I'm Ana Villalba, and I'm the CEO of StimuField. Pablo is as well the co-founder and the chairman in the company. We are siblings. For whoever is wondering, we're not married. It's just that this is the way in Spain the last name works, just out of curiosity. So yeah, let's get started. I'm excited to show you the cap. So I have here one of the boxes, the StimuField Cap, and I'll take the cap. Looks like a regular cap, a little bit heavier. Pablo also having another one there. It's supposed to be, well, looking like a classic baseball cap. But of course, it has some technology inside. So let's see if I can show it properly. We have here some of the controls. So here will be like the turn on button, where you can just click and then you will initiate the session. We have some reminders during the session so that you can see that actually the session it's working. There are also some vibrations for you to understand that the cap is working, especially at the beginning and the end of the session. And we also have some features here, which are the charger. This is a magnetic charger. And lastly, I would say it has like an inner liner. So we want to make sure that you can clean it between uses. So this part is removable, and you can just drop it in your washing machine and clean it. So that's a little bit the overview. Then, as I said, the session lasts for 30 minutes. Should be very convenient. You shouldn't feel anything except for the small vibrations that give you a clue that the cap is working. But other than that, the technology works silently. It's powered by ICS PEMF technology, which we will discuss a little bit further in detail later on, and we will discuss a little bit the story about an inventor and other uses that this technology has been used for. And yeah, let's go a little bit more into what is inside the cap. So as I mentioned, there is an inner liner here that you can peel off. Then there is the outer cap, which should look like a regular cap. We just make it very discreet so you can wear at home. No one will be wondering. You can also wear it if you go for a walk with your friends or with your dog. But well, I mean, mainly we see people using it mainly at home, and we will recommend some tips to make it more easy to incorporate in your routine later on as well. And then the core of the technology, what we have inside are a set of coils, which are powered with electricity, and then they generate those waves that go into your scalp and the follicles and a specific target to help you support your natural hair growth. So I'm gonna move it to Pablo to explain a little bit more the science behind the technology that is in the cap, and I'll get back to you later on.
Thanks, Anna. So, yes, I am wearing the cap now. And the little bit the story of how we got in contact with this is pulse electromagnetic frequency stands for an electromagnetic stimulation, basically a wave that goes in pulses. And what this does is without contact, without any kind of laser, just using electromagnetism, the device has some coils that activate and kind of provide a stimulation to the scalp where the follicles of the hair are living. And there's been decades of research on this topic because these patterns have a very interesting impact on the body, which is that they tend to activate the cellular mechanisms that already happen in the body. So things like hair health or hair growth usually are mediated by a lot of things within the cells, but electromagnetic stimulation kind of gives them that extra push to to make things work in the best possible way. These are low frequency pulses, so they're very different from something like what you would have on a phone or other devices. They're typically under 100 hertz, and that means that they're in that range that they're kind of in a range that's able to stimulate the body. Now, pulse electromagnetic frequency has been used for a few decades, but the specific variation that we use is originally developed for NASA by Dr. Bob Dennis. So they were researching in zero-G environments, how could this support the health of astronauts and space operations? But then it was brought to Earth in a way, and it was discovered that it had many different benefits. Basically, support the health of tissue. It would help with wounds. It would help reduce inflammation, reduce pain. So we thought there's something to this technology that seems to support a lot of different things. So we wanted to try it for hair. And this has been the first time, to our knowledge, that PEMF has been used for this. And we kept finding consistently that the results were positive. We saw better hair, better density, better appearance. And all of this happens in a way that's drug-free. We are not using any chemicals or any drugs. It's a very simple, low frequency, low intensity field. So we created this regime that is 30 minutes a day. You can wear it. It's very kind of efficient. And yeah, just very simple to use. What's happening at the cellular level is that the same PEMF principle that the scientists have used in bones, tissues, and wound healing can be applied to the hair follicles. So, in a medical level, what this does is it opens those ion channels. Cells are sensitive to electromagnetic frequency. And what happens is when these frequencies come, in a way, they turn on and off, oversimplifying this. But that kind of has an effect. It's a little bit like jump starting an engine from a car. That has an effect which triggers a lot of downstream activity. And that is connected to the mitochondria and the way they produce energy. And obviously, in the cells, when more energy is available to the follicle, that means that there is more growth possible and just better health in the surrounding tissue. We have also observed it in better microcirculation, where there's more oxygen and nutrients delivered to the cell. And basically, there's a whole cascade of growth signaling from a cellular perspective that activates all these different benefits. So for anybody interested, there's some of our research published in the website. And this is something that has been found over decades. But how it supports the hair specifically, it goes from the scalp to the follicle to the appearance. And the way I think about it usually is your hair is a little bit like a plant. So if you want the plant to be healthy, it starts with the roots, because that's where the plant is taking their energy, all the nutrients. And basically what you see from the hair is the result of everything happening under your scalp. So PEMF has that ability to deliver this stimulation under the scalp. It sends very gentle and precise signals that reach the hair follicles underneath. And what this does is it activates a cycle. So our hair, also like plants, doesn't just grow immediately and bear fruit. It does have a cycle. It's typically from 3 to 6 months. 3 months is when it starts to be visible, and 6 months is kind of when you can appreciate more of the potential and actually goes It goes on even more until 12 or even 24 months, depends on how you look at it. But what we're talking about is if you're creating an environment where the roots are healthy, the hair overall is going to be healthy. And that eventually translates into better hair appearance. When we've been running, when we've given users the cap and we've been kind of observing the effects they see, they tell us things like, I see better fullness. I see that my hair is thicker. I see more volume. Some of them even notice that it basically helps with the shine and the feeling that it has. So overall, this is all a benefit of healthier roots. Maybe to understand hair health, it's also useful to understand what makes hair not healthy. And we listed a few of the causes. So basically, we have genetics, stress, aging, nutrition, hormones, and some lifestyle factors. And we want to talk a little bit about some of those effects. So, for example, genetics. What makes hair become smaller or weaker? Well, one of the factors is hair does have a hormonal sensitivity that is actually in your genes, and most people are sensitive to this. So if you have hair loss in your family and you are sensitive to the genetic and hair loss, that is something you're very likely to inherit. And this is one of the biggest factors. Like if you have hair loss in your family, you're basically at a higher risk of inheriting that. So unfortunately, there's not much that we can do about genetics, but there's other factors that we can control. And for example, stress is a huge factor. One of the responses our body has when we're stressed is a lot of systems get impaired and they don't work as they should. So just like, again, if you like gardening, some of the plants will drop their leaves when they're too cold or too dry. We also tend to drop our hair, and that happens via pushing these follicles out of their growth phase and causing shredding. So if you've been through a period of stress, maybe you start noticing that there's more hair in your hands, in the shower, in your pillow. Often when that stress stops, a few weeks after it stops, you notice that comes back and you're able to recover some of this like hair shedding that you can suffer. Another one can be nutrition. If you don't have the right nutrients in your body to kind of go through that hair cycle, well, the hair is going to be less healthy and sometimes not as dense. So some of those nutrients are iron, protein, zinc, vitamin D. This is why many people like to supplement some of these nutrients to make sure that there's not a lack of them. So body tends to prioritize main body functions before hair. So often if your hair is having this, it's because everything else in your body is already being nourished. Another aspect can be hormones. Hormones are changing a lot through our life. So if you are somebody going through menopause or postpartum, or maybe you have some imbalances in things like the thyroid, all these things can bring your body to a different state. And that kind of shock has the potential to affect your hair health. One more is lifestyle. So if you're in the heat, maybe in the sun, maybe you're going through a bad sleep period, maybe you're smoking, there's many small factors that whatever makes your body healthier can contribute to your hair appearance, and whatever kind of takes a toll on your body might also impact your hair. So one of these last factors is also aging. Of course, when we age, the circulation that feeds the roots of our hair, basically those little capillaries and veins, become not as functional. So there's less nutrients delivered, there's less blood delivered. The cells are maybe not in their ideal function, like when we're younger. So we see things like a thinner skin, less collagen, less circulation, even less color sometimes, because follicles are getting less of what they need. So in a way, we can also compensate this by having the best lifestyle we can, having, like any kind of stimulation, nutrients, basically trying to max out on everything else to make up for the effects of aging. So this is a little summary of everything that can impact our hair. Yeah, basically we see it a little bit as a balance. So I think when we think about who is a good candidate for using PEMF stimulation, what we think of good fits is somebody who has early stage thinning, when you're starting to notice that your hairline is receding, like I had in the past, though it luckily improved. I used to have like some areas with much less density, both in the crown or here. These are ideal cases. And men tend to have this more in localized patterns, like the hairline or the crown. But women tend to have it a bit more diffuse, where overall the hair density is lower. So if you're somebody who's seeing early to mid stage thinning, this is a good, like PEMF can be a great option because it gives you that extra boost that could take hair follicles that are a little bit weaker and bring them back to this fuller power and appearance. Because drug-free is also great for anybody who wants to have a drug-free option. And it only takes 30 minutes a day. So I personally like to leave it next to my desk. So anytime I'm answering emails, I wear it. And before I'm done with my emails, my session's over. Being realistic, this is also not for everyone. So if you are somebody who has fully bulked areas, this unfortunately will not bring a hair follicle back to life when it's been completely lost. That's why it's important that we hair follicles while they're still alive, because if they're weaker but alive, just like a plant, you can bring that plant back to life. But when this is very advanced, unfortunately, the only option is hair transplantation. So this is why we always encourage people to start early. If you have metal implants in the head, well, pulse electromagnetic frequency is sensitive to metals. So this is something that we would not recommend using. And obviously somebody pregnant, nursing, or under 18, we would also not recommend it. So having said this, I can bring it over to Ana to explain a little bit what's the typical journey until seeing results, which is what most of us want to be seeing.
We have some questions, but I'm not sure if we want to answer them at the end. I think so. I think we will compile the questions. We're getting them. Don't worry, but we'll answer all the questions to the camera at the end. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna cover right now how long usually the results take. So as Pablo was explaining, there's the hair cycle that lasts certain months, and also the speed of growth of the hair, which is usually about 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeters. I don't know the conversion in inches, maybe half an inch each month. So because of that, usually the first month of the stimulation of PEMF, you probably wouldn't see anything because although the technology is already working underneath, it's very unlikely that we can see something in the surface. What we typically see after the second and third month is some reduction of the hair shedding. And then as time passes, more towards the 4 months, 6 months, that's when you will see more visible results. That's when you probably see more coverage or more density. And yeah, we expect like more visible results around the 6 months target. That's why we always say like you have to stay consistent and you have to be patient too. And we will also make some observations about why we also give tips to take some before and after pictures so that you can evaluate the progress that sometimes is not that visible on when you look at yourself in the mirror. So if you pass, yeah, so these are the clinical trial results that we got. So we observe some increase in density, like 12% around the 4 months mark, and 18% around the 6 months. And translated into hertz, that's about 13 hertz more per centimeter square and 23 more hertz per centimeter square. That might be a vague thing, but that's usually what is done for hair trials. and it's measured under a standard trichoscopy. But we can jump into the real results so that you can see what users see in reality. Yeah, so we will be seeing more cases on here. This is an overview. I think we have a total of 5 or 6 cases. We have tried to display the ones that we clearly see more, that they are more proper, because we want to consider the same conditions before and after. So let's jump into each of the cases. Yeah, so this is a progression of 6 months. I want to point out, I don't know if you can see my, if everyone will be able to see my mouse when I hover over. Is that possible,
I can move
Pablo?
it for you. I can move it for you.
Okay, maybe. Okay, so for example, in this case, it's a real representation that maybe at the 3 months target you might not see much. This person, for example, related to us that it was observing already some small hairs, very thin ones, and more blonde when he was in those 3 months. But if you see in the images, it's barely, you can barely appreciate the differences from the beginning. Now, when we go to the 6 months, we can see that already the area of the crown and this lateral area here, the hair is darker, and those initial gaps are filling in. Let's go to the next case.
Maybe I want to add as well that it's not just hair, but sometimes the benefits can also affect pigmentation. And this is something where we don't have a lot of data on. This is something that we've observed sporadically, but the cells also pigment in the hair are likely benefiting from the same mechanisms. So it might be connected, that there's also darker and more vibrant color in some of these cases, but it's still something we're trying to understand.
Yeah, okay, so this other, the second case, what we can see is, well, the most affected area is the crown. So at the beginning, we see that the area is much wider. Then at 3 months, we start seeing that the diameter is a little bit smaller. And then at 6 months, we can see that that area, it's almost closing. This person is still willing to do more pictures, so we might see some progress. And our objective is to get more long-term proofs. So perhaps in the future, we can share 12-month data. That would be amazing. And yeah, so the rest of the areas, it seems like less progression, but in this particular case, where we see the most benefit is around the crown. We can go to the next one. We wanted to share also some female cases. Those are less, like we have less people using as a female, but this is one of the cases that we have. In this case, as Pablo mentioned, usually it's more a diffuse hair thinning. And what we can see is that the hairline progressively it's reducing, right? Like we see like a wider area at the beginning, and then we see a less area at the end. Basically, those are the small hairs which were thinning that are becoming darker and more terminal and denser in the end. Maybe we can go to the next case, Pablo. This again is like another case where we can see clearly like a wider part line at the beginning, and then fill in the gaps. And in the end, it's pretty much like the density is almost back normal. And then this is another case for the crown, where we see clearly some thinning at the beginning, and the area has been filling. We have been trying to represent some of the cases showing 3 steps. And also, I think I want to point out that it's very important that the pictures are taken with the same lighting, the same angle, the same combing, because having comparable pictures is what really will tell you if you are seeing differences. It's very easy to sort of fake that you're seeing some results when you are not. And that's why we are trying to always, well, we have our guideline for before and afters, and we are trying to encourage people to really pay attention how they take pictures, the same lighting, the same angles, so that it really shows your progression, your real progression. We also think that because the hair cycle takes a long time, it can also be very encouraging. So maybe there are things that you don't see in the mirror because, well, maybe your thinning area it's on the back of your head, and you obviously don't see that all the days. So when you take pictures from different angles, that helps you to understand and be encouraged to continue and get consistent with the use of the cap. And I wanted to show also, I think we have, well, this is another woman case. It's not the best, as I said, like it would be ideal to have consistent before and after, but in this case, we can appreciate as well, like her part line it's kind of closing and the hair is getting denser. And then we have one more case, I believe. Yeah, this is the latest one where we're trying to do a monthly progression with some of the users. And in this case, this is very early, but it's just 1 month comparison. But I wanted to show a very clear case of what are the early indications that where you can see that the cap is working. So in this particular picture, if you see it normally, you wouldn't see much, but these are very good resolution pictures. So I was able to zoom in, and then you can see in the next picture, Pablo, I have the zoom in too. Yeah, I just put it too.
Here we go.
Yes. So I was able to kind of get some marks on the skin. So some spot mark, and also one of these hairs that is very kind of particular. So if you can see, and if you join the line on your view between these two marks, you will see that there are tiny hairs that in the first picture, they are not there, and they are starting to come out. Those hairs probably were there, but they were very weak. And now, with this stimulation, they're starting to become like power and more like they're getting nutrients, and they're starting to recover part of the strength. So that means like if you are seeing these early signs that where you are seeing like maybe very thin hairs coming, a little bit more denser, thinner hairs, that's a very positive sign. And that's when you will understand that actually the stimulation is working for you.
Yeah, I found this one. This is honestly one of the ones I found most useful to understand it, because you can see the same hair here. You can see the hair being longer. So you can imagine like these hairs are now, there's a little bit under the scalp, right? And those are popping out. If you make this line, there's practically nothing before. And then here, there's not just crossing the line, but they're kind of advancing. And this is just 1 month. So I found this very, very encouraging. Great visualization here.
So what I said, like about the 1 centimeter or half an inch of each month, I think clearly we can see this in this front hair where it seems a bit shorter, but then in the view we can see it longer. So you get an idea of how much the hair grows each month. Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe it's working. So I think we are over with the results that we wanted to share today. Hopefully we will encourage more people to send us before and after pictures, and we will be able to share more stories in other webinars. And then we want to share a few tips, and then we will jump into the questions.
Is it? So, well, we both use our StimuField Cap, but I really love teaching people how to incorporate it into their routine. So it is 30 minutes a day. What I found useful is I'm a very forgetful person. So I try to put it next to something that I'm already doing. So basically, I always tell people, start with a habit that you enjoy. It's not going to be brushing your teeth, because you're not going to do that for half an hour, but I like to have it maybe next to my breakfast, or next to my computer, or at the couch. Because whatever you're doing in your day, there's always some moment that you're 30 minutes doing something. So whether it's a podcast, watching a show, watching TV, just put it there, and every time you use it. The battery lasts forever. We'll tell you specific numbers after somebody asks, but you rarely need to charge it. It's just there. You turn it on. It's super comfy, but it's really important that you see it. So if it's visible on the table and it's kind of next to something you're doing, you're going to be using it. And in the end, the more you use it, the more consistency and the better results you're going to see. But again, maybe if somebody's tried to maybe lose weight or change some other habit where it's really hard to see the progress daily, you probably learn that you have to take those pictures and find a way to track the change, because the first months, it's impossible. Like, you just see yourself every day, you forget, you look a little bit different every day. But when you take those pictures, it's that kind of moment of truth where 3 months later or 6 months later, you look at yourself and you're like, wow, there's a lot of progress here. Like, this really advanced. And at some point, it starts to be other people telling you like, wow, I think your hair looks amazing. What do you do? And because it happens so gradually, it's not like a surprising thing. It's not like one day you have a bunch of hair, one day you don't. It's kind of like gradually improving, like when you get in shape. So yeah, we always recommend monthly pictures. You've seen how hard it is. So it's really important to make them consistent, but to really put a little bit of time. Yeah, a lot of people, when you want to get better hair, a lot of people are already using topicals, supplements, maybe following some better diet, trying to reduce their stress. StimuField will not replace any of these healthy habits that you can do, but it will definitely like be a positive element on it. If you're somebody with a medical condition, though, we always recommend asking your clinician to make sure that whatever other things you're doing, kind of get the best understanding of how this might interact. But yeah, in the end, it's all about consistency. And I guess with this, we can go to the questions. So,
Well, there's one
have a
more
few.
thing we need to announce, Pablo. I think we need to announce the flash sale. So we will have a flash sale for a couple days. So you will be able to purchase the cap for 30 at a 30% discount. So you will be able to pay just $990. This will last, like, I think it's live already, and it will finish this Friday. So make sure that you don't lose it. And I think that's it. We just you just have to go to the website, StimuField.com, go to the product page, and the discount will be applied automatically when you go to the checkout. I think we're not missing anything, so the total saving will be around $460. So yeah, I think with that we can already jump into the questions. So yeah,
oops.
I have
We
here,
lost.
I'm gonna read them aloud in case so do you follow. So the first person asks, does the person wearing it feel anything at all?
You want me to
Pablo, you
answer
wanna?
that so we can do a question and answer?
Yeah.
So you don't feel it. You don't feel the stimulation because it's electromagnetic, but you can hear it. So one thing, if you have a keen eye and you put it here, it's so subtle. It's very hard to hear. So you need to be in a quiet room. But if you really put your ear here, you will hear a very faint sound that's click, 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 click. And that's just the electronics, because the way the electronics work, it provokes a little bit of a clicking sound. So that's one way to feel it, but it's not something that you will kind of, there's no tingling, there's no heat, there's no pinching. It's kind of it's surprisingly invisible. One thing that somebody in this call realized is if you have a radio and you put one of these old school radios and you just put it next to the cap, the frequencies do interact a little bit with it. So it is possible to hear it as well if you have like an old radio. And I think it was in the AM that I would provoke those interferences. So if you're able to put it nearby, it will do a little bit of, like you will be able to visualize that in a way.
All right. Shall we jump to the second one? Is this better for diffuse hair loss or for a specific thin area like the crown?
So I believe consistently that it works better on diffuse, because on diffuse, practically all your follicles are there. They're just a little bit weaker. Again, with the plant metaphor, it's a little bit like if it didn't rain for a few days and you have your grass and it's not looking great. And then you put this stimulation and it all comes back like nothing ever happened. So diffuse, we tend to see great responders. When we have areas that are starting to be affected by, like maybe the crown is a very common one. I used to have, you can't really see it, but I used to have thinning in this entire area and it's kind of closed completely. And that is because I acted when it was early. So kind of the hair came back to full strength. When you have an area with more advantage, like in my case, it would be this one, for example. I think maybe the last picture that we were looking at with the references, that's kind of the pattern you will see. You will see first peach fuzz hair, and then that peach fuzz might get stronger and stronger over time. So best when the hair is weakened, but not gone.
All right. How long does the battery last on one charge? I think this is an easy one. I can answer it. So yeah, it's about 2 weeks. And I think there's another thing that probably we don't communicate that much, but engineers are very proud of. So if you turn on the device and it allows you to turn it on, you will at least be able to complete one session. So if the cap doesn't have enough battery to complete one session, it will force you to charge it. It will display that it's really low of charge and it will force you to charge it. So I think that's a good thing, because if you start a session, you really want to complete it, like not say like, oh, I don't know if I did 10 minutes, 12 minutes, or what did I do? But the reality is that, yeah, people probably forget that they haven't charged it for a while, because it's usually about 14 sessions what it lasts. I think we have another question. Are we able to get haircuts in between, or will it interfere with progress?
Well, that's a really cool aspect about PEMF, which is hair is transparent to PEMF. So it doesn't really matter that you have hair in between. What matters is the proximity. So as long as you're wearing the cap, it's designed to be at a specific distance from your scalp and it will reach it. It doesn't matter for the effect. You will see the same effect. It is better though, if you're going to be taking before and after pictures, that maybe like if you have shorter hair, it's easier, obviously. But if you have shorter hair and you're going to be taking those pictures every 3 months or 6 months, it is useful to get like the same cut at the same length, because then you're able to truly compare. If the hair grows longer, it's a little bit different. But for effects, you're going to see the same benefit. It's just like you might want to compare in those pictures, and that's your choice.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are there plans for other colors or cap styles?
Maybe. You can have any color you want as long as it's black at the moment. But
yeah, we do have
nice, yeah.
2 sizes. We do have 2 sizes. That's what we have at the moment. That's because we believe like it's important that it fits you properly. Usually what we do is we send a follow-up email once you do the purchase. So we ask for to confirm the size. That's about it. But like, yeah, right now you can choose any color, but if it's black, as Pablo said. We have another question. How does compare to laser caps? I'm gonna.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think this is
that's
a friend as well
interesting.
asking. Yeah, it's very interesting. And the person asking will understand this, but it goes deep to the biology of this. So from the outside, when you look at this cap and you look at others, this is very light, it's flexible. It's like I can do this. It's light. You can carry it in your luggage. When you have a laser, lasers are at least this thick. And that's because of the electronics and the way the alignment works and so on. So they tend to be much, much thicker. They tend to be heavier as well. And they tend to shine this light. So in a way, what I like about the StimuField cap is that I can wear it and nobody knows that I'm wearing like a high technology hair stimulation cap. Well, if I'm wearing something with laser, it draws a lot of attention. And I personally really value the discretion. It's also flexible, so it's easy to carry in your luggage and, doesn't take a lot of space. But from the biology is where they become truly different. The way laser stimulates your hair is it needs to kind of reach it. So when you have hair, the laser kind of has to get through it, and it doesn't always do that. Your hair is in a way shading your own head. So often the coverage works against the laser unless you manage to kind of put it in contact, which is depending on the device, you can't always do that. And the laser has a harder time reaching the follicle because the follicle again is hidden. While with electromagnetic frequency, because it works kind of contactlessly, it's very easy to make this uniform stimulation where the hair is not affecting it. There's other reasons from a cellular biology perspective, which is that both of them stimulate the mitochondria, so they help that energy system. But we will need a full webinar for this. Basically, they both have their benefits. We believe that PEMF is superior because it's not affected by skin tone, by hair. It's very lightweight as well. But we would need a longer session to compare them. We're also trying to price this at a lower level than laser cuts, which typically go for $2,000-3,000. So hoping to make the technology as accessible as possible.
So with that, we are going to wrap this session. That's all the questions that we got for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We really enjoy doing this webinar, and we hope it has been useful and you learn more about the technology and about us. We have to remind you that there will be this flash sale with the cap having 30% discount. So you will be able to purchase it for less than $1,000, $990. And it will be live now until Friday. So with that, we close this webinar. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining again. And any follow-up questions, you can reach out to us through customer support. We'll be there. And just let us know. Hope you have
Thanks
a good
everyone
day.
for joining. Lovely to hear in the comments. And hope you have a great day.